Welcome to the Ghost Geeks. I'm Chad, and today we have part 2 of our 3-part series on the structured light sensors, better known to us investigators as the SLS camera.
If you haven't watched the first video, you should do that first, as this video expands on the principles of that video.
In the previous video, we saw how the SLS camera uses a pattern of light and software to detect and map what is in the camera's field of view. In the last video, we also ended by asking the question on what your ideas and theories are on how this device could see and capture something that isn't visible to the human eye. Well, let's dive into that question and break down a few of the ways that this system can detect things we simply cannot see. Detection theory number 1. In the first video, we showed that the Kinect SLS camera system uses an infrared projection and camera system.
This wavelength of light is not visible to the human eye. However, the infrared spectrum lets us see into a world that we would otherwise not be able to view. It's more than just night vision.
All energy finds itself in various forms of waves. The frequencies that we see make up the visible light spectrum.
Since it is believed that ghost apparitions collect energy from their surroundings to manifest themselves, it would make sense that a spirit can absorb some of this light energy. This absorption would alter the luminosity of the return structured light projection and trigger the software to attempt to map an object.
Detection theory number 2.
A second theory on how this system detects spirits is exactly how it's designed. Even if we can't see the spirit, it is possible that their presence bends, refracts, or changes the light in some way.
We've all seen the sun radiate off the concrete on a hot summer day. Well, this would be a similar distortion.
And since the software is able to detect even the tiniest changes in structured light pattern, the distortion would result in a detection. As paranormal investigators, we actually use one of the ways the sensor can be disrupted to our advantage, and that is with atmospheric interference. This is part of one of the theories on how this technology works in the paranormal field. Not only can the system detect physical changes, but if a spirit can manipulate the atmospheric conditions in the path of the sensor, then the changes could be enough to distort the pattern of light. Now, let's talk about some other pitfalls of the SLS system and how we as investigators use it and what we can do to minimize false readings. Calibration. Okay, we're done. No, really, it's all about how the sensor calibrates. When the software starts and the sensor initializes, a calibration routine is called that essentially looks at the light pattern as it should be on a flat surface and then creates a reference pattern based on what it sees. What this means is that the first few moments after starting our SLS system are very important to the system being able to properly detect changes in the light pattern. If we are moving the sensor or have objects moving in the field of view while the initialization routine is running, then the base pattern will be skewed and we can have several errors and false returns from our camera. Fortunately, we have more than one camera on our SLS to help the system reduce false positives. The only problem is that this camera is just a standard RGB camera, so we should take care to start our SLS cameras in well-lit areas. So the visual camera can also aid in the SLS calibration. Unfortunately, this causes the potential for additional problems. The structured light sensor has poor resistance to ambient light interference. This means the sensor works best in absolute darkness. Any interfering light source can cause miscalculations, resulting in detection errors. Since the sensor is sensitive to interfering light waves, this also means that double reflections and interference light patterns to distort, resulting in difficulties in handling concave features and reflective surfaces. This also means that the orbs some people capture in their SLS systems are actually flashlights and other light sources, causing detection holes in the readings of the sensor, as we see here. Another pitfall of this technology has to do with the fixed offset of the camera and the projector. This error can cause false positives and other random anomalies when looking down long empty spaces or into holes. Let's look at an example of what causes this.
As we see here, the camera and the projector have the offset between them. The system works as long as the light leaving the projector can be seen by the camera. When the hallway extends, we begin to have angles in which the light from the projector cannot make it back to the camera uninterrupted. This creates holes in the system's vision. Increase the distance further, and the camera cannot focus on the projection plane, and the signal for detection deteriorates.
Another thing to keep in mind is that the SLS system creates a 2D field, not 3D. The 3D capabilities of an SLS system are created by either having two opposing systems or by recording the data points as the camera moves and stitching those capture points together. Let's look at a few pictures captured this way. SLS technologies are changing rapidly, as not only the sensors get more accurate, but the projectors and the software get smarter. As a paranormal investigator, it is crucial that we understand the limits and potential pitfalls of our equipment. This also allows us to plan our experiments around avoiding false positives and creating better data sets for study. In the next video, we're going to take a really deep dive into this subject. So until then, I'm Chad, and remember, talk nerdy to me.